Right now, you are looking at a glowing screen. You are surrounded by an invisible ocean of electrical currents, wireless signals, and microchips that keep your entire life running perfectly. It feels completely permanent. But the real answer is far stranger. Because your entire modern world hangs by a single, fragile thread. What if a silent blast from the sky could cut that thread tomorrow? To understand how close you are to the edge, you have to look back to the morning of September 1st, 1859. An English astronomer named Richard Carrington was sitting in his private observatory studying the sun. He was tracing a cluster of massive dark sunspots across a projection screen. Suddenly, two blinding beads of white light erupted directly inside the dark clusters. Carrington thought a stray beam of sunlight had breached his equipment. He cleared his lenses, but the brilliant white spots grew even more intense. Within 5 minutes, they vanished completely into the solar surface. He didn't realize it yet, but he had just witnessed a monster waking up. What had actually happened? The sun had just thrown 1 billion tons of superheated plasma straight toward Earth at millions of miles per hour. It was a coronal mass ejection, a solar storm of unprecedented scale. Before that moment, humans had no idea the sun could strike them from across the void. They found out less than 18 hours later. By midnight, the night sky across the planet began to glow with terrifying beauty. Auroras, usually confined to the icy isolation of the poles, bled down across the globe. People in Cuba, the Bahamas, and Jamaica watched waves of deep crimson and emerald light dance across the tropical night. In the Rocky Mountains, the light was so blindingly bright that gold miners woke up, thought it was morning, and started cooking breakfast. People in Boston could read the newspaper at 1 a.m. purely by the light of the sky. It felt like an apocalyptic miracle. But underneath the glowing sky, the only advanced technology on Earth was collapsing. In 1859, that technology was the telegraph network. It was the Victorian internet, a web of copper wires stretched across continents to let people send messages across vast distances. Suddenly, the wires became choked with raw, unmanaged electricity surging out of the atmosphere. Telegraph keys sparked wildly, shocking their operators and setting message papers on fire. In many stations, operators disconnected the batteries completely to save their equipment. But a strange thing happened. The telegraph machines kept working anyway. The air itself was so heavily charged with solar currents that the lines ran purely on the energy of the storm. Operators in Philadelphia and Portland sent messages to each other for hours, using nothing but the electricity of the aurora. Within a couple of days, the storm passed. The sky faded to black and the telegraph lines were repaired. Humanity patted itself on the back and moved on. But there is a counterintuitive twist to this historical event. The Carrington event wasn't a disaster for your ancestors because they were too primitive to be hurt by it. Their world ran on horses, steam, wood, and muscle. If a telegraph wire burned out, life didn't stop. The food still arrived, the water still pumped, and the homes stayed warm. Now ask yourself a dangerous question. What happens if that exact same storm hits us tomorrow? Researchers like Dr. Pete Riley have analyzed the probability of a Carrington-class storm hitting Earth. The data suggests a nearly 12% chance of it happening every single decade. In fact, in July 2012, a solar storm of the exact same magnitude missed Earth by just 9 days. If it had hit us, we would still be recovering today. Because unlike your ancestors, you live inside a digital cage. The moment the solar storm hits, the Earth's magnetic field would violently warp. Massive electrical currents would dive into the ground, searching for the longest metal pathways they can find. In 1859, those pathways were telegraph wires. Today, those pathways are the high-voltage transmission lines of our global electrical grids. The grid would experience a catastrophic overload. Giant transformers weighing hundreds of tons would melt from the inside out within minutes. The lights wouldn't just flicker off. The systems that generate and move power would physically destroy themselves. And you cannot fix a melted transformer with a simple flip of a switch. They take months, sometimes sometimes years, to manufacture and replace. Instantly, you would be plunged into total silence. The internet would vanish as undersea fiber optic cables lose their power repeaters. Cell towers would die as their backup batteries deplete within hours. Up in orbit, hundreds of satellites would have their electronics fried, rendering GPS completely useless. You wouldn't be able to call for help, check the news, or find out if your family is safe. But the lack of entertainment is the least of your problems. How long could you survive without running water? Modern water systems rely on electric pumps to move millions of gallons into cities and homes. Within 24 hours of a modern Carrington event, taps across the developed world would go completely dry. Gas stations wouldn't be able to pump fuel into trucks. Grocery store supply chains, which operate on delicate just-in-time delivery algorithms, would collapse. The food on the shelves would disappear in days. Hospitals would lose power, running out of emergency diesel generator fuel within 48 hours. The entire machinery of modern civilization would stall. A report by the National Academy of Sciences estimated the economic damage of a modern solar superstorm at over $2 trillion in the United States alone. They concluded that full recovery could take up to a decade. It would be a slow, painful crawl back to the baseline of human survival, all because our technology has outpaced our planet's natural defenses. We have built a world that is incredibly smart but catastrophically fragile. We are completely dependent on a star that we cannot predict, control, or soothe. This brings us back to the modern mirror. You walk through your day assuming the systems around you are permanent. You rely on the grid to feed you, protect you, and keep you connected. But the sun operates on an 11-year cycle of activity, slowly building toward its next peak. It is firing cosmic warning shots into the dark every single week. The Carrington event proved that nature can rewrite the rules of human society in a matter of minutes. It reminds us that our greatest achievements are ultimately rented from the universe, not owned. So tonight, before the sun goes down, take a moment to look at your glowing screen.